Hi Stephen, hi Julie. I thought I'd just do one last video to explain my thoughts behind some of these final kind of issues and things that we've come up against. And I'm so sorry if you've been waiting for me to come back to you with the final design. There might be some sort of confusion. I was kind of waiting for some extra dimensions and things, but it doesn't matter because actually, I've gone on ahead anyway and I've completed the design, but I've given you two kind of versions. I think I'd mentioned in an email some possibilities for this kind of screening, this awful kind of shared garage thing next door. And we talked about possible pleached hedging, and I think I sent some pictures of that kind of thing, or just using kind of screening and focal points to kind of bring the eye view sort of in within the garden and keep the interest within the garden so that we're not worried about what's going on outside. But I think, it's very difficult on email sometimes, so I wanted to just show you what I meant by that. And thanks for these extra pics. This really sort of made it clear. I hadn't realised kind of what kind of a issue this was. But on the positive side, this photograph here, gave me the first glimpse of this enormous tree beyond. And I got to thinking, well, we can sort of borrow that, and that also becomes part of your view. When you're sitting here, you've got the benefit of that beautiful tree. You might not always think it's a benefit if you struggle with leaf drop and some issues with it, but from where I'm sitting, it looks pretty good there to have that in the horizon. So I've kind of played with that and looked at ideas of how we can draw the eye away from the eyesore. I don't know if we can screen it entirely because looking at the heights here, this is a pretty low fence, and we'd almost have to double the height of it to completely screen it completely. So I want to show you the two sort of ideas in the model. So let's just move this out of the way and see if I can talk you through this. Okay, so I've put in now in the model that building just so that we can see how it works and how it affects the design. And I've also sort of guesstimated this huge tree to put that in the skyline so that we can see how this works. And I mean, at the moment you are looking straight at that, and it's a pretty scary sort of big feature to look at. I'm just going to hide some things here first. So yeah, right now you are sort of direct line view straight to that shed, so I can understand why it's a concern for you. So let's have a look down. So this is your current view, if you like, without all this beautiful design that's going to exist later. I've dropped that fence line right down and I've just guesstimated. It doesn't matter on the plan exactly how high that fence is, but at the moment I've drawn it in now to a more realistic 1.6 metre height, and the back fence looked to me a little bit taller, so I've gone up to 2 metres. Now that might be inaccurate, but I thought just for the purposes of this, I want to see how things affect the design. So already we're going to have a sort of broken view line from this area of planting around your seating area, and it's interesting to just sort of play with the model and see how things change. So I've drawn in the shed and the tree. So I just want to show you that just by the fact that we've got the pergola going in there, how much of a difference that's going to make in itself. It's difficult to see in plan view sometimes, but I'm going to now start popping in some of the features. Oh, they've all come in at once. There you go. So even if we didn't have any additional screening measures in place, this big chunky pergola feature that we've got going in that corner is really going to draw the eye into the garden, and it's going to make sense of the whole design. So you're not going to be looking directly at that side shed as you are now. And also on this is the original design, we'd opted for two small pretty trees either side here as two sort of focal points they really help and sort of, you know, bring the eye into the garden. Let me just sort of hide these features again. And you can sort of see the difference just by having some foliage in front of your fence line is going to make an almighty difference. And I'd realised I'd put in these kind of attractive screens that I love. These are Corten steel screens that you can get here, and I've had a little search around in Australia as well, and I think they are also readily available. It just depends on your price point. But there are several ways we can do this. You can use screens that attach directly to fence lines, but if your fence line is particularly low, which I think it is now, we can also do these freestanding panels with their own supporting posts and bring them in from the fence line slightly. So this is what I've adapted this model to show, that just by giving a little bit of space between the fence line and the paving, I've filled this up with a pebble mulch and just given a little bit of extra room in front of the fence. You can put these features. Now these screens aren't obviously screens that are going to hide the shed, because that would almost be impossible, but I think what they do is they just draw the eye into the garden. So we've got some interesting features, and it, you know, you'll be amazed how much difference that makes. Add in a little bit of the foliage. Let's unhide all again, from trees. You can even have a little row of grasses, you know, planted in the front here, just to again bring the eye in. And actually I think you'll find that will do quite a good job by itself with your lovely pergola. Now that we've also got extra beams along the top, just some smaller rafter beams going across for more shade, and the possibility, hopefully, if you can find canopy screening to just draw across here as well, that instantly is going to help with this garage. Now I know there's still going to be some showing, but I just don't think it will bother you as much. That's kind of the point, really, I suppose. Whoops, I've sort of ducked behind the pillar. Also, it was just interesting to me to sort of see your full view with that tree, and I think that really helps just soften everything, really. You know, you've got all that foliage from the tree, and you know, it's just going to do a great job for you as well to sort of hide that monstrosity. So short of asking your neighbours to kind of tear it down, which could be an option, we're kind of stuck with it, I think. But that's my first kind of plan, and the ground plan of this design pretty much stays the same. We've got these little cutout squares here, little focal point here, and the sort of paving. Just to note as well, since our last model, I've drawn in now all of your existing work, your sort of concrete pad that's going around the house. So I've taken that plan that you supplied, and I've drawn that in as it is, pretty close to how it is. It might not be 100% accurate, but I think I've kind of got the shapes there correct. So that should now kind of match up. I'm not sure what your plans are for the sides here in the front, but I've just suggested some planting areas. I don't know if this is too much for you or what you had in mind, but just as an additional thing, I think it really would be nice to have these two small feet. Oh, I must stop moving the cursor. There we are. Two small feature trees at the front entrance, perhaps, just to give it a little bit of a sort of grand gesture. I know you've got some existing plants, some camellia on the left-hand side that you want to keep, but just a little border across the front. You can retain some grass area of lawn, and this area too, I guess, all be planting, I think. I had suggested some raised beds and things, but it might be too much, and you know, perhaps pushing the budget a little bit. So this would be fine if it's all planted with just some different heights going on. You know, a small feature tree, some heights. It would be nice to bring the grasses through to the front as well to echo what you're doing in the back garden, and some sort of grasses and shrub planting there. Fairly simple, nothing too extravagant. So I'll keep that on the model as it is anyway, just, you know, take from it what you will. you can go with it or ignore it. It doesn't matter, you know. It would be nice to keep some kind of flow of the design all around to the front of the house. I know you're doing things in stages and you've already got this concrete down. I was just trying to echo some of the shapes from the back garden through to the front. So I think we're just about here. This is kind of option one, if you like, to keep this pergola as we had it, right up to the fence line, a little bit of space for some screening in front and the trees as they are. But I just wanted to give you another option just in case this wasn't your thing. So where is it? Here we go. Right. Okay. So this is an alternative option. And I wanted to see, I like to visualise things. I'm not always great at looking on plan, and it just helps so much to be able to see a little 3D view. Okay, if I stop moving around again, you can see this one. Now this one is just the idea of the pleached hedging. I don't know, I didn't get a sort of an answer from you if you guys liked this sort of thing. It's fairly formal but also very modern. This idea of a little hedge that can be trained above a boundary line, and you've got a nice clear stem, and then you've got like a perfect screening option, you know, above an existing boundary, and it can just look so fantastic on all sorts of different gardens. Oh, sorry, these are so tiny, these images. I think I'd sent these through to you. This is a contemporary garden with a horizontal lattice timber in a show garden at Chelsea, and the pleached hedges are always a great showstopper. Actually, they're always in various show gardens. It might be too much for you. I wasn't sure if it was your kind of thing, but let's have a look and see how it looks in your garden. Oh, if I can stop pressing the wrong thing. Here we go. So to make this work in this space that we've got, it just meant a little bit of alteration. Obviously, to give a living hedge and a pleached hedge a bit of room to grow and a bit of light, we couldn't have the pergola canopy going right over to it. We've got to give it a little bit of space. So to make this pleached option work, I've reduced the size of the overhead pergola canopy. Just brought that in away from the hedge line, the hedge line and the boundary line by you know, sort of half a metre, just over half a metre. And that just allows us that little bit of space, and it completely blocks out the view from there of that nasty building there. So, like I say, it's like a hedge on stilts. You've got the clear stems, and these are great for really, really tight spaces. So you wouldn't take up any more of your dining space or your sort of barbecuing space. But it just, you know, if you wanted a complete block of screening that's going to totally obliterate that shed, then you would need to do something like this. I think it's the only thing I could think of really that would work. The only thing that I would have to do for this option is to take out one of the trees because it was just interfering too much. It was getting too complicated. So in terms of ground pattern on this one, we've lost a little bit of the symmetry here. But I was still happy with this. I kind of made this work. We've lost a square of pebbles here on one of the trees in the screen. But I've kept this small focal point tree just to kind of knock off this edge a little bit. As we view from the house, it knocks off that corner, which is good. And like I say, the pleached hedging kind of really helps completely obliterate that view of the shed. So there we go. I hope that helps you kind of, you know, formulise your final kind of opinion and thoughts on this. The rest of it we've got all kind of tied in. Everything's working nicely. The sizings are all sort of correct as far as I know, unless you want to give me any sort of exact heights and things of these structures. But like I say, this is just a 3D model. I don't think it really matters. The main thing now is to get you your actual ground plan so that you can start your build. Go ahead and start, you know, getting quotes and get your build started. So there we have it. I think what I'll do is choose my personal favourite to go ahead with the layout plans, unless I hear from you really quickly and you sort of say no to that. I'm going to go for keeping the pergola up to the edge and just using the screening options. So I'm going to choose the first option that I showed you, this one, just because I don't want to make too many changes without your approval on this plan that we'd already kind of gone with. So I hope that helps. I hope that's okay. I think it will block out quite a big view of that shed there. And this is the one that I'll have drawn up for you to a scale plan and get over to you by the end of this week, hopefully. Okay guys, I hope that's all good and you guys are well, and we'll be in touch soon. Thanks for now. Bye.